my god, he's gonna go around the inside, he's gonna send it. He's taking the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix on the last lap. Matt Turner takes the win in a remarkable race. We have teammates coming together. How devastating!
Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, ladies and gentlemen. This is the iFormula League Formula 2 season, round number 2 from season 3 here, and it's gonna look to be an absolute cracker once again. I am your commentator for the evening, Alyssa Long, and we are here at the Brazilian Grand Prix, arguably one of, I would say, one of the better F1 calendars or tracks on the calendar. It is a magnificent circuit. Always action to be had. It's just mega. Lots of overtaking opportunities into turn 1 with the massive back straight, obviously. But before we get into talking too much about the circuit, let's talk about the things that we all care about, and that'll be the standings and the drivers. So, following on from round number 1, we did see Chris Byram obviously take the win of that race, with Carlos Ghosn finishing in second after having an unfortunate disconnect here in the first safety car period, which was something that he said that he's obviously looking to try and avoid for this race. But Chris Byram will obviously be looking to win the first 2 rounds in a row. And if he manages to do so, he would be the first driver in IFL history in any category to win the first 2 rounds in a row. That's a statement. That's something to say he's not here to play anymore. He wants to win. But going through the standings, 3rd place, Frederick Larson, who so far, it doesn't look like he is in the server, so we may not be seeing him. Obviously, he was a bit of a last-minute entry last week, but I think he is now fully committed to Formula 3, so we probably won't be seeing him. However, we do need to talk a little bit about some new entries. Now, for those of you who have been watching iFormula before, you will maybe know this driver, Lewis Archer, won last season. So he will be racing the number 1 for GTR Evolution. Now, he's a driver I'm very much looking forward to seeing on track. I am very excited to see what he can do. He is going to probably make a big statement as we go into like the first, well, his first round. He's going to look to try and be making up any deficit he can to the CUDA team. But it's going to be tough. Obviously, missing the first round, you do miss quite a few points if you do miss rounds here. Obviously, using the traditional F1 system for points. But, yeah, a couple new names, a couple new teams. So we're interested to see how they do. Speaking of teams, let's go ahead and talk about the team standings. You see them on your screen. We do have the CUDA Works team currently sat in first place with a whopping 36 points. Absolutely miles ahead of the second place team, who is Ariga Motorsport. U-Race Brazil in 3rd with 12 points. And that would be the team that, if I can get his name real quick, Cesar Cabral races for. Home race for Cesar, keep in mind. So he's going to be looking to do well. Obviously a Brazilian, racing for a Brazilian team. So it would be amazing to see him finish on the podium at all this race. But let's get these standings off the screen. Who needs to see that? We want to see some action, right? That's what we want to see. But let's see, what have we got so far happening on the circuit? Carlos Ghosn currently leading the way. I can tell you His best lap so far is a 121.1 in qualifying. And I believe second place would be Corey Whiting, who would be a 121.4, with Alex Gutneck now setting a new personal best for him, which would be a 121.5, and that will be your top 3. And, you know, I think this has the potential to probably be one of the best races that we have seen ever. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. This has the potential to be the best race that we will ever see. It's a big claim. Let's jump on board with somebody right now. Let's stop making big, bold claims. Let's jump on board with Alex Gutnecht. See what he's up to. See whether or not he's improving at all. Currently down in through the second and third sectors, but purple through sector 4. So he's on for maybe a new personal best. Maybe not pole position, but he could improve on that 121.5. As things to watch out for this race, obviously this long back straight here. Sorry, main straight. Something that we're going to see a lot of drivers using DRS, possibly coming out of the corner. Remember, you're not limited to DRS zones in this series. You're limited to, effectively, uses of DRS. So you've got 8 uses throughout the course of the race. Entirely up to you how you want to use them. You can use them straight away at the beginning. You can use them, you can save them, wait till the very end of the race. Or you can use them probably like a lot of drivers are going to do. A lot of drivers are probably going to use them to try and make a push, try and really start to catch up to the guy behind before they use it, just to give them that extra little bit of boost that they need to make the move down through the straights. And I'll tell you what, that is a mighty good lap from Cesar Cabral there, with a 121.4. Now, I was looking in practice. It did look like a couple other guys were doing 1 minute 20s in quali. So, interesting to see if anyone breaks that 121 barrier. At the moment, Carlos Catao very close to it, but doesn't look like he's improving at the moment. Chris Byram currently on a faster lap, but he hasn't set a valid one yet, so that's to be expected. Ivan Bothkamp currently up in the first sector, but down in sector 2 and 3. Sean Gerd there coming to a stop as well. I think he's just letting a couple of guys through. Now, this is the driver that I am very excited for. I've said it already, but I'm going to say it again. This is Lewis Archer, winner of last season, currently sat in P5, and yeah, you could say he's, you know, he is 5 tenths off. So, in terms of pace, I mean, he's competing with one of the best that we've seen so far in F2. But let's see if he can improve. See if he can find that little bit of time that he needs to potentially push him up into that pole position. As we know, obviously he will be running the number 1 after winning last season. But you know, time will tell with Lewis, I think, with his team as well, seeing where they can end up throughout the season. It's going to be, you know, highs, lows, as is always the case in racing, as currently Chris Byram is setting 2 greens and a purple, as we're going to jump on board with him through the 4th sector. He's now coming through to finish the lap here, and he's just gone green again in the 4th, so he's looking to be on a new PB, and depending on how close he is times-wise in that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sector, we may end up seeing a new pole position man here from Chris Byram as he takes the final corner. DRS completely shut open, you can tell by that back flap underneath the rear wing. You'll see it open up when he goes into the braking zone, and it is enough for pole position with 1 minute 20.932. That is a good lap, and I reckon he's going to be happy with that. He probably thinks there's more in it, as all racing drivers typically do, but he's got to be happy with that. Breaking the 21s, now you're 2 tenths ahead of your biggest rival, Carlos Catao, after the first round. Obviously, you have a few unknowns, so there's a few new drivers here, like Julie Redmond, for example, and Nicholas Marshall as well, both of which are being promoted from F3. They're coming up and racing for the CUDA Evo team, so CUDA's secondary team. And again, going to be interesting to see how they perform. Obviously, the F3 car is a little bit slower than this, as Chris Byram has just gone faster in the middle sector. And oh no! That's a huge off for Chris. That is a massive off. That's what happens when you try and put it all on the line in your qualifying laps. It really is. You can just get on the throttle a little bit too early and just end up putting yourself in the wall through no fault of your own. It's brutal, brutal stuff, these qualifying laps. But again, thanks to the wonderful magic of sim racing, he can get himself back to the garage nice and easy and go back out there and give the car everything it's got. As it is interesting to see at the moment, we do seem to have blinking from Corey Whiting here, which is not ideal, but hopefully he can get that one sorted out relatively soon. Let's see, who else is currently up on their times? Lewis Colon currently in 10th. He's looking to try and improve on his last results. Currently up in the 2nd and 3rd sector. Let's see what he can do through the 4th. He is slightly down, so going to be interesting to see if he can have a good run out of that final the final corner here. And with DRS fully shut, as we can tell again with that with the flap underneath the rear wing closing up to stall the airflow. And he's going to look... Is he going to improve? Doesn't look like he has massively. He did do a 122.079 as his best, and oh, there is a spin as well coming out of turn number 2. A little bit too eager on the throttle, happens, especially in qualifying when you're really pushing to give the car 110%. Let's see if anyone else is currently up on their times, but it doesn't look like so. It just looks like everyone is just currently going about their business and trying to warm up their tyres, get ready for their next qualifying run. Oh, excuse me, folks. Corey Whiting, again, setting 2 personal bests through Sector 3 and 4. Let's see whether or not he could improve coming through the final corner here, as he drives all the way down to the inside line here on the pit lane. Is definitely valid runoff. A lot of people, when they come in to the pits, are going to have to be aware of that. They're going to have to make sure they know what the driver ahead is doing, especially when it comes to the race. Obviously, if anyone is coming into the pits, they will be braking quite aggressively to slow the car down there into a very fast pit lane, as Chris Byram has just set the fastest first sector and a personal best through the 2nd. A little bit down on the 3rd, but did set a new PB on the 4th, so maybe the PBs have outweighed that little bit down there in the 3rd sector. Let's see as he comes across, going through the final corner past the pit lane. Is he going to be able to set a new fastest lap? Is he going to be able to do a quicker than a 120.932? And he does with a 120.7 flat. That is even more impressive than getting into the 120s initially. He's currently 4/10 quicker than his closest rival in points, and that would be Carlos Catal, which running away from that man isn't easy. I'm sure he's definitely looking to end up this race with a very good start. But yeah, that CUDA driver, man, he's quick. He is very quick, that Chris Byram. And, you know, as I keep talking, he's just going to keep going faster. Was slightly down in the 1st, personal best through the 2nd. Let's see what he can do through the 3rd sector here, as he is again slightly down. I think traffic in the way right in front of him. He may have to call off this lap and just go again after that, but we'll see if he continues on as he comes through the final corner. But he did set a new PB, and he might try and use this car ahead of him for slipstream, and if he does, he may gain even more time over the cars behind him. as it looks like the car in front doesn't have DRS open as well, so Byron to the inside is going to go for the move during qualifying, which, you know, he's going to let him through without DRS, so nice and easy there, but unfortunately does not go quicker, 120.934, so maybe the traffic playing a part there, but also helping him with the top line speed at the end of the straight. As I say, very long straight here, and what you'll probably see is drivers using DRS coming out of both the third corner and also coming out of the final corner. Not really anywhere to overtake through the middle part of the circuit as well, as Chris Byram's going to abort his laps, and Carlos Catao did set a session best through the second sector, but was down in every others, so I don't think we're going to see a blistering lap time from him, but let's see if he can gun it on this lap and see if he can make up any time here, as we see that DRS flap obviously opening back up again once he gets onto the braking. Works a little bit differently from F1, did catch me off guard the first time, but does look like all of a sudden that is now, you know, I've learned from that, and looks like the DRS usage now I should be able to spot a little bit easier. As let's see whether or not he is improving at all. At the moment, doesn't look like anything is massively improving. I think he is currently being held up a little bit by traffic, but that unfortunately is the rules of qualifying. In open qualifying, obviously if you are blue flagged, you know, you can be polite, make sure you move yourself off the racing line, let a couple cars through, but if you're on a flying lap and the car behind is, sorry, and the car in front of you is on a flying lap, they're going to still complete it, and you've got to, if you're faster than them, unfortunately, just means you've got to try and find a bit more space. But let's see whether or not Carlos Catao can set a new best lap, but he was down in every sector, so probably not going to be the run this time either. Currently, through the grid, let me run you through the results for the top 10 so far. So, Chris Byram currently taking provisional pole with a 120.7 flat. We've got Carlos Catao in second with a 121.1. Next up, Lewis Archer with a 121.2, and Corey Whiting with a 121.2 as well. And I'll tell you what, that is going to be a battle to watch as well. If they're that close in qualifying, and they're going to be that close in the race as well, and their race pace is good, that could be a battle to watch. Corey Whiting versus Lewis Archer for this race. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Byram and Catao as well, but that might be a little gem that we should keep an eye on. Cesar Cabral currently in 5th for his home race. 121.4 there on the standings, and Alex Gutnecht behind him with a 121.4 as well. Again, another quite close pairing, as we will jump through now down to 7th with Ivan Bothkamp, who is currently setting a personal best of a 121.6. Not up on his time at the moment, but obviously looking to maybe try and improve where he can and bump himself up a few positions. Julie Redman for the Cuda Evo team, one of the newer drivers we have here, currently sat in P8 with a 121.7, and then underneath that in P9 we will have Buddy Boggs with a 121.7 as well. Another very close pair again, as Bothkamp does improve. Sets now a 121.557, so only a 10th off Gutnecht there, which is something that you're going to always, you know, be wanting to try and find now. His next thing is probably going to be to get back to the garage and look again, where was I, where was that 1/10? Can I improve anywhere, you know? Did I lock up in a certain corner? Can I try and avoid these types of things in the future? And it's all things that you'll take through, because driving and qualifying, obviously, very different racing style to driving actually in the race, where you are focused a little bit more in terms of in the race, you're focused more on, you know, managing your tires, managing your DRS, managing your fuel, making sure that, you know, you're managing the gap to the cars in front and behind. Always trying to make sure that if you're going for a pass, you're making it cleanly, nice and easy on yourself. But yeah, in qualifying, it's just all guns out. You're going for the fastest lap possible. Don't care about the state of the tyres at the end of it, because that's not the ones you're going to be starting on. But with 5 minutes left of this session, Carlos Ghitao does improve eventually with a 120.9, so he's broken that 121 barrier, which looks to be quite a tall order for a lot of these drivers, breaking into those 120s. Only 2 drivers so far have done it, and I don't think I ever saw any other drivers in Practice Manager either. I think Archer may have come close, but I don't think he did in the end. But as I say, it's those 120s, they're going to be your quick guys. They're going to be the ones that are going to run out at the start of the race. They're going to be the ones to really watch take off. And, you know, as they say, qualifying never tells the story of the race, but sometimes you find that, you know, a qualifying result can dictate a race, especially one that's so hard to pass on. Interlagos, as I say, couple of nice overtaking opportunities through the straights into the tighter corners, but through the middle sector you kind of just have to sit behind the dirty air and really affecting these cars, so who knows? Who knows what will happen? With 3 minutes left, I think Carlos Ghitao is going for one more run, potentially. Let's see. And he is. DRS shut. Stalling the airflow underneath the rear wing, making sure that the air is just slipping through the car nice and easy and not being hindered in any way and forcing the rear of the car down. Instead, it will lift the rear up slightly. As let's see whether or not he improves through the first and second sectors. As currently Mason Thompson setting a personal best through Sector 4. Let's see whether or not he can improve down there in P16 as well. If he can, then he may be able to potentially bump himself up a few spots. Especially if he can improve by around about 3/10. And it doesn't look like he improved massively. Did go to a 123.1, but not quick enough to really gain many positions just yet. As all eyes on Carlos Ghitao right now as he comes across the line. Has he improved at all? Is he going to set a new pole position lap with only 2 minutes to go in this session? Is he going to find the pace? No. I don't think he has. He just did a 121.4 that last lap, and that's currently nowhere near quick enough. You're going to need to find almost 6/10 on that lap if you want to take pole position from our man Chris Byram, currently sat there on pole. And Lewis Archer is also trying to look to do the same thing as he's going for one more run. Should be able to get around to the start-finish line to start a new lap, as he's currently down in all sectors, so possibly on an out lap currently, just trying to save the tires, trying to make sure he can really just gape it together and make sure that when he does go for that run, he gives absolutely everything on that final lap. As Carlos Ghitao, I don't think will have enough time to make it to the checkered, to get to the start-finish straight, sorry, before the checkered flag of the session. But no, maybe he will, as he currently goes really wide there, coming out of the exit of the penultimate corner, as he has now let off the accelerator. He's got DRS, he's got his wing open. I don't think he's going to be trying to set a new lap, but one man that is Lewis Archer. He's going to be going for pole. Probably one of the only drivers here who is on any sort of improvement lap as well for the final part of this qualifying session, as we're going to see whether or not he can potentially set a lap before qualifying ends. He is currently up in Sector 1, but down in Sectors 2 and 3. But let's see if he can upset the order, shake things up a little bit, and maybe put himself on the front row as he comes through Sector 4, again down on his time, so it doesn't look like he's going to improve at all unless he can have a really good run through the final corner But I believe that is DRS open as well, so he's not going to be trying to push for a fastest lap here as well. I think he's just going to call it and be happy with P3, I think, as all the drivers now come to a stop on their final qualifying laps. Cesar Cabral and Buddy Boggs, the only ones left on laps, I believe. Let's double check. Yeah, Cesar Cabral and Buddy Boggs currently the only ones left on laps, and I think Cesar is taking it nice and easy, coming back into the pit lane, and Buddy will also be doing the same. But there it is then. That was qualifying all wrapped up, as Buddy got awfully close to that pit wall there. I was worried he may have hit it for a second, which wouldn't have been the best thing to do. Would not have been the best thing at all. He's just going to pull up there in T2 and return to garage, and that should finish out our qualifying session as we wait for the session to end. But good session, that. Only 2 drivers into the 1 minute 20s, and I'll tell you what, if Byram keeps up the pace like he's been doing, potentially we could see the first driver to win the first 2 rounds of any IFL league, any IFL season, any IFL championship, whatever you want to say. He could be the first one to do it, and that would be a mighty impressive result if he can. As we will take a look here at the qualifying results. So currently on pole position would be Chris Byram with a 1 minute 20.7 there for your qualifying fastest lap, with Carlos Catal 2/10 behind him. Lewis Archer in P3 there with a 5/10 off again from Chris Byram. Corey Whiting in P4, Cesar Cabral P5, Alex Gutnecht in P6, then Ivan Bovcap in P7 with being Chris Byram's teammate there for the CUDA Works team. Julie Redman, fastest of the CUDA Evo drivers and one of the newer drivers to F2, jumping up from that F3 car, so quite a big challenge, but she seemed to take it in her stride there and put herself in P8 with Buddy Boggs there in P9 for the Orion Racing team. In P10 we got Ronald Mathau for Grisprilia Motorsport, followed up by Lewis Colon in P11 for Turning Point Racing. Carlton Hall takes P12 with White Coat Racing, and Alexander Carver-Robbins with Ariga Motorsports P13. Sean Gerd taking P14 for Grisprilia Motorsport, with Isaac Salas taking P15 for Orion. As hopefully we can get these results to flick through. There we go. I think we only have one other driver who has potentially set a time, which would have been Mason Thompson there for Chubbin Racing as well. I don't think any other drivers set a time, so that would be 16 drivers there, all setting a time. 2.4 seconds off for the slowest, but looks like it's going to be a very, very, very close battle there between P1 down to potentially down to P10 even. Obviously all separated by about a tenth. Sorry, by a second. I can't read, apparently. That's what we're finding out tonight. As warm-up, just halfway through at the moment, so hopefully that will stop in a moment. But a couple of the drivers are all going to just be relaxing, taking it easy. I don't think anyone's going to be doing any sort of push laps. They're all just going to be doing a bit of race pace, get their heads right, make sure that they know what they're doing. Also, probably the usual pre-race wee. Yeah, every driver needs it. The nerves will settle in when they settle onto the grid, though. That's definitely for sure. Oh, hopefully, everyone has been enjoying the qualifying action so far. Obviously, with warm-up, there's not a lot massively to talk about, aside from, you know, what was going on in the last round, which, I'm going to be honest, it was a bit of a crazy race. 3 safety cars in the end, so hopefully the guys have or maybe calm down a little bit and we get a little bit less chaos as far as safety cars are concerned, as one of the drivers seems to be doing a couple of standing starts in the pit lane, which is not the greatest place to be doing it. Hopefully they pull off to the side of the racing line and do a few practice starts out of the way of the drivers in the pit lane. Manual starts, obviously. Standing starts as well. We don't have any rolling starts here in the IFL. Something that Formula Cars, if anyone has watched Formula Car racing before, you'll know that is, well, single-seaters in general. That is the way that they go. All standing starts. Clutches, not really used after the starts at all. So, all very much double clutch gearboxes from just a sequential box. Paddles on the inside of the wheel for both up and down gears, as well as a paddle on the top for DRS, which I found through the gyro as well. I believe we'll be able to see if we move over to Buddy Boggs, or I would, if it wasn't that the warm-up has ended. So here we are then, on the grid, lining up. Chris Byram, as we said, on pole with Carlos Cattal in P2. Lewis Archer P3, Corey Whiting P4, Cesar Cabral P5, Alex Gutneck P6, Ivan Bothkamp P7 with Julie Redman there in P8. Buddy Boggs P9 with Ronald Mathau P10, Lewis Colon P11 with Carlton Hall P12. We will jump down a couple of positions to see Alexander Carver-Robbins there in P13. And Sean Gerd there in P14. Isaac Salas in P15 alongside him. Mason Thompson in P16. As we do have Nicholas Marshall there in P17 with Zach Permenta in P18. And Fernando Mateus as well, lining up the back of the grid there in P19. But I think we're all ready for the race, as we do have the lights come on. Chris Byram on pole position. Is he going to be able to get a good start off the line? And it does look like he can, and gets an absolutely amazing start off of the back of Cattal. And Cattal's already trying to try not to get under pressure between him and Archer, as well as Gutneck takes advantage and gains 3 positions off the start. And who's that at the back? That's Lewis Archer. Lewis Archer has just lost it. He has lost it on the exit of the corner, and that's him dropping massively down the grid, as we now see Chris Byram under pressure from Carlos Cattal, and Carlos Cattal is going to go up the inside, makes that move nice and easy, but he needs to be careful because Chris Byram may be able to come back on him, and he does. And if he's not careful, Alex Gutneck's also going to try the move. They're going to try and maybe go 3 wide here through the corner, but it's not going to work, and I think Alex has pulled out of it, thought better of it, as he's now going to try and use the battling between Chris Byram and Carlos Cattal to maybe get more positions, but it doesn't look like Chris is going to take any of that, and he's going to block out Alex Gutneck for the moment, as Carlos Cattal has now established himself a little bit further up. And here we have Corey Whiting as well dropping a position, but Ivan Bothkamp making up 3 in front of him. So Ivan Bothkamp currently making up quite a few positions, as we see Cesar Cabral also dropping a place. Lewis Colon up 4 positions off the start as well, with Ronald Mathau up 2, Sean Gerd up 5, and here we are, Carlos Cattal setting the, I mean, he's just had an absolutely shocking getaway, but somehow manages to keep it close with Byram. Obviously quite a short run here from the start-finish line to T1, so Not the end of the world if you get a bad start, but it's definitely not somewhere you want to be, as we're currently seeing Lewis Colon here battling with Cesar Cabral. Is Lewis going to be able to try and make the move? And it does look like he's going to be alongside him. Is he going to be able to make the move before the corner, or is he going to have to try and go the long way around the outside? To which he tries to do, but nice defending from Cesar Cabral, as Cesar Cabral does go a little bit wide, gives Lewis the opportunity to go up the inside, which he does take. Is he going to be able to hold it round the outside here again? Lewis is going to be cursing in the mirrors, trying to make sure that he can throw everything at Cesar Cabral to try and make any move possible, but it doesn't look like he can find anything just yet, so he might hold off for now and just see if there is anything he can do alongside Cesar Cabral there. But we will now jump on board with Julie Redmond, as she is down currently in 2P10. Maybe trying to make a move on Sean Gerd, but doesn't look like anything of it just yet. It looks like everyone's now kind of settling in to their positions, apart from Lewis Archer here, who his teammate will let him through. And I wonder if that was a bit of team orders there between Lewis and Zach, as Zach seemed to quite easily let Lewis through and let Lewis focus just on what's happening with his race. But it looks like Ronald Mathau has come into the pit lane incredibly early. Is there any damage on that car at all? It doesn't look like it, so potentially maybe a drive-through for jumping the start, or he's just coming in for a very early pit stop, as Carlos Catao is now under pressure from Chris Byram. Chris Byram going left then right, but not able to really shake anything of it. But Julie Redmond here as well, trying to pressure the car in front of Sean Gerd. He's going to look to the inside, but not be able to find anything there. And behind them, Alexander Carver-Robbins also has a mistake and spins it. Oh, very unfortunate for him, and he looks like he was doing really well there to gain a few positions, but unfortunately lost those. But let's jump back on board with Sean Gerd, as we do now see that battle between the Cuda Evo driver and the Gasprilia Motorsport driver, and it does look like for some reason Sean seemed to get a really bad exit out of the corners, and Julie just seems to be able to run away with it at the moment. So interesting there. We may have to go back and see if anything happened there, but let's take a look back up with the leaders. Obviously, we're going to look to see whether or not Chris Byram's going to be using DRS, and it doesn't look like he is. It just looks like he is just on pure slipstream power as he goes down the start-finish line side by side into turn one. Chris Byram's going to be looking round the outside and not be able to see anything of it. Carlos Catao very easily defending that, as Chris Byram may potentially be looking for another move down the second straight, towards turn number 5, and he's using DRS this time. DRS is shot. He's going to look for the move around the outside, and again, just not being able to have the speed. He's not able to quite catch up, and that's going to really affect him through this race, as it is a very long 46-lap race here as well. So these drivers are going to be gunning it the entire time. We know that for sure. But another battle that is quite close on circuit is this battle between Buddy Boggs and Sean Gerd. But it doesn't look like Buddy's able to really do anything just yet. It looks like he's just relaxing at the moment, and hopefully may be able to make a move at some point through the final sector of this circuit. And it does look like that Orion racing car seems to be going quite slowly into the corner, but does manage to get a really good run on the exits a lot of the time. As who's this behind them? Lewis Archer very easily catching up to the Orion cars, so he's going to be looking to make a move as quickly as possible to make sure that he can regain all those positions that he lost spinning on that opening lap. But let's jump back on board with Carlos Catao and Chris Byram, as again, here they go into turn 1. Is the move going to work this time? And no, again, Chris Byram not able to see anything there, as Carlos Catao just easily manages to outbrake him, shut the door on the apex, and say, mate, if you want to come past me, you got to go the long way around, and I'm not going to make it easy for you at all. As we see Chris Byram here with DRS open, is he going to be able to make it around the outside? And again, nothing doing just yet, but don't say too much, as he's again gonna try and look for the move. Again, you're not really gonna find it around the outside here, but he's gonna look, and honestly, Chris Byram's throwing everything that he can at Carlos Catao, and Carlos is eating it up. Like, he's just not phased at all. He's probably not even looking in the mirrors at this point. He's just chilling. as we will jump on board with Cesar Cabral, as he does look like he is going to try and make a move on Corey Whiting as well, as there seems to be a couple drivers that are dropping positions. I think that was Isaac Salas going off circuit and also dropping a position there. But Lewis Archer making up a couple positions, but not able to make the move on Sean Gurd that last time, as Buddy Boggs, I think, managed to make the move on Sean Gurd. As we will jump back on board with Corey Whiting, see if he can defend from the two drivers behind. That would be Cesar Cabral and Lewis Colon, as Cesar does look to the inside. He's going to look to try and make the move into turn one, and that should be nice and easy, but he's going to have to leave him space on the inside, and he does, but no, I think he's managed to just make the move there into turn number 3, and if Corey isn't careful, he's going to be double passed here by Lewis Colon, and unfortunately it looks like that has happened, and Corey's not able to really make any moves there back on Lewis after the overtake, so he's going to have to bide his time through the middle sector unless he can find his way around here, but it doesn't look like he's going to send it. It looks like he's just going to sit back, know that he can't really overtake through this next sector, so he's going to be pressuring as much as he can, and it looks like he may have almost got a mistake out of Lewis Colon there, but again, nothing doing, as it seems like Chris Byram's also dropped a few positions, and Chris Byram has been passed by Alex Gutnecht. We didn't see that off the track, as let's try and see whether or not we can find out how that pass was made. As here we are, jumping on board with Alex Gutnecht, as he just absolutely sends one up the inside of Chris Byram there, making it look absolutely easy. Sends it from miles back up the inside, nowhere for Chris Byram to respond, and that is him out of the running, as we're going to jump back on board with indeed Chris Byram, as he looks to try and make moves back on Alex Gutnecht, and this entire time Chris is just dropping positions after position, and Ivan Bothkamp is now past him as well. And again, I have to say, is that going to be some more team orders? Is that going to be Chris Byram saying, Ivan, you have DRS, you've got more DRS usages than me, if you can try and fight this guy, we can try and pass him together, and maybe we can try and make sure that we make this attack and we can get ahead. The Kuda guys and the Lumos guys obviously not very big fans of each other in the paddock a lot of the time, and it looks like they touch. Oh no, that is absolutely devastating. Alex Gutnecht and Ivan Bothkamp again touching. That has to be a very unfortunate contact there for Ivan Bothkamp, as he's going to almost get sandwiched 3 wide here between Lewis Colon, Ivan Bothkamp, and Cesar Cabral, and this is one thing he has to be careful of now. Lewis Colon has made up a massive 8 positions at this point in the race. And just as I say that, he does go a little bit too wide there, sends it a little bit too deep under braking, and he's now lost quite a few more, as Ivan Bothkamp now needs to defend from Cesar Cabral and Corey Whiting, as Cesar, oh no, loses it with DRS, and Corey Whiting does the same, flying through the air. Oh no, that's absolutely horrendous. And that seems to be a couple of drivers now out, and that will bring out a yellow flag as well. That is absolutely horrendous. And this is why you don't weave with DRS shut, ladies and gentlemen. Your car is not able to weave in the same way that you can when you have DRS shut. Even like when you have DRS off, you can weave, dance as much as you want, but the moment that you get back, or the moment that you... I'm speechless. I can't think. What just happened? We see Cesar Cabral doing something. Let's jump on board with him, see what happened. And see what happened. As he's now going to go round to the outside, and oh no! He flicked the steering wheel a little bit too hard with DRS, and unfortunately that looks like... well, that's how you meet the walls, and with him being actually in the track, definite reason to call out that yellow flag. As that will be a little bit unfortunate there. And Carlos Catal is going to keep on driving, as it doesn't look like anyone's caught up to the safety car just yet. So, as far as I'm aware, I believe everyone is just continuing on for now. As there it is, there is indeed the safety car that has now caught up to the leader, Carlos Cattell, with Chris Byron behind, but that was a very unfortunate incident that seemed to affect quite a few drivers. Obviously, we do have a fast repair in this series. You do have one available through the course of the race, so maybe a couple of drivers getting a second chance here, but it does look like Corey Whiting may be out of the race. Or using this to get a free pit stop, but it does look like he was in there for 2 minutes, so potentially just taking the damage repairs and seeing where he can come out, obviously under yellow, not losing all too much time. As I want to see what happened there between a couple of the drivers. So Cesar Cabral, let's jump on board with Cesar and let's see if we can get a second look at what happened there in the TV cams. So Cesar goes to the outside and flicks it way too hard, and that causes that... Which driver was that was behind him? Was that Corey Whiting behind him? I think it might have been. Let's double check. Let's jump back on board with Corey Whiting and let's see what happens here. So he's currently behind as... Oh, there was just nowhere for him to go, and unfortunately for you motion sickness viewers, he gets massively airborne, and that would be him towing and taking that fast repair to get him back out there onto the circuit. Don't want to ever see that. Drivers flying through the air, usually not a good sign of things to come. But let's jump back on board with Carlos Cattell, as it does look like the safety car still does have the lights on, so for now we are doing a few more pace laps. We'll give everyone a chance a little bit more time to do a bit of a breather, as I think Cabral is going to definitely have to learn from that lesson, maybe, and we see a couple of drivers here jumping into the pit lane as well, as we have Cesar Cabral in, Sean Gurd and Zach Pimenta in as well, as we see a few more drivers here, Ronald Mathau and Julie Redman also coming into the pits under the safety car. So the pit lane is now open, obviously shut on the first few laps of a safety car, but open on the final lap of the safety car laps. So potentially you could gain a free pit stop and catch up to the back of the field, but you will be a little bit further behind than otherwise, as Carlos Cattell will obviously lead the group away. As let's see, did anyone lose too much on the pit stops? Potentially the drivers who pit would have lost not a lot at all, actually. I think they all managed to regain their positions on the safety car. Two massive wrecks in the first 2 weeks of the IFL, and again very early on in the races as well. So always something you'd want to try and avoid, but that was definitely a safety car that we did indeed need. I will say though, safety car does give me a chance to hydrate after the rush of the first few laps. Still not learning how to get my voice to be nice and safe. Still pushing it a little bit too hard. But we'll be learning. We'll try and learn. Try and make sure that my voice can hold out for for the length of these races. Actually gives me a little bit of respect for Croft when he can gun it so hard for the entirety of the F1 races. As here we are then, Carlos Cattell is going to be leading us away, and we're going to take a look to see whether or not, as he is in control of when they set off. He's going to be waiting. And Chris Byram's a little bit further back than you would expect, so eventually we're going to see him put that foot down and gun it. And I think he's going to try and play the long game. Wait until Chris maybe tries to jump. And there he does. He does indeed go. It is green flag here once again on lap 11, as Chris Byram needs to try and maybe defend up the inside there of Alex Gutnecht, but it doesn't look like anything's doing, as let's see everyone else behind. See if everyone else has made it through nice and clean, as there seems to be a couple of other drivers trying to make moves here. Lewis Archer managing to get past Fernando Mateus as well. As let's jump back to the TV cam, see if anyone else is having any other battles. But it doesn't look like anyone else is. It looks like everyone's being pretty safe with it so far, as that was Ronald Mathau that just manages to get up the inside of Zach Pimenta. And it looks like Cesar Cabral and Fernando Mateus are all battling as well, as Alex Gutnecht is trying to go around the outside here of Chris Byram and not able to make anything happen there. And if he's not careful, Lewis Colon is also going to Lewis Colon's also going to try and make a move past, as Alex Gutnecht is now trying to potentially run away. He may use DRS here to try and defend from Lewis Colon, but I don't think anything's going to happen here between those drivers. I think they're a little bit too far apart, but one thing that we can be certain of is Lewis Archer is going to try and make a move on Isaac Salas here as well, up the inside. But is he going to be able to do anything? It looks like he's going to go around the outside, actually, up into turn number 1. Is he going to be able to make the move nice and clean? We're going to take a look. And it looks like he managed to get that move done before the corner even. So that was a nice move there from Lewis. He'll take those as much as he can. But looks like we seem to have a spinner there. That's Nicholas Marshall. And is that Buddy Boggs as well? As potentially there was a crash there between the both of them. Let's see if we can see what potentially has happened here, as Nicholas Marshall is going down the start-finish straight. And I believe if we'll look to the inside, there he is. There is Buddy Boggs. Unfortunate there between the two of those drivers, as they seem to just be unfortunately collecting each other. But no harm, no foul. I'm sure that they'll talk it out after the race, and all will be forgiven. But back on board with Lewis Colon. Let's see if he can try and potentially pressure Alex Gutnecht. But it's looking like at the moment he's potentially trying to settle down. Obviously, lap 12 of a 46-lap race. You still have a long way to go, as Julie Redman is now trying to get involved with the Gasparilla cars here of Ronald Mathau and Sean Gurd. Now, we've seen some team battles before, and we have seen what some teams can do with other teams to maybe slow down the other drivers. And hopefully that doesn't happen again between a couple of the other teams here, as Julie Redman's a little bit too far back this time to really make anything happen, as Ronald Mathau and Sean Gurd just take it nice and easy into turn 1 with each other, obviously not battling too much for position, as Alex Gutnecht and Lewis Colon are once again pretty damn close, but nothing doing just yet. It looks like Lewis can't really find anywhere to make a massive move up the inside. It looks like they're more just trying to maybe work together, try and push themselves a little bit closer up to Chris Byram up in front, who is now within a second of Carlos Cattal. So maybe we can see potential moves being made between those two, as the last laps would suggest that Chris Byram is currently slightly quicker. As we see, Isaac Salas as well has had an unfortunate incident, as it looks like he has unfortunately crashed. Is back on circuit though, so did lose a couple of positions, but should be back up and running now. Let's see if we can see what happened here with himself. May have lost it by himself going through the middle sector. And yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be just a little bit of a curb touch. Lost it a little bit by himself, but did manage to keep out of everyone's way and get back on track nice and safely. As we do go back between the battle here between Sean Gurd and Ronald Mathau, and Are they going to be letting each other through, or is this a team battle? Race it as you see it, and maybe potentially hold Julie Redmond up behind them as well. Maybe Ronald Mathau has told Sean, hey, look, if I'm quicker than you, mate, can we try and maybe work together, try and push each other along and see if we can catch up to Mateos ahead of us? As there's another move that was potentially on there between Alexander Carver-Robbins and Lewis Archer. Not teammates, but very similar color schemes. Not necessarily liveries, but definitely color-wise. And it looks like Lewis is still trying to make moves up here. He's still trying to get back up to where he was before he had his unfortunate spin in lap number 1. As he may try to look to the inside here, but he's probably just going to back off, try and get a good exit, and take Alexander on the straight, as Julie Redmond is now also trying to look for a move on Sean Gurden, potentially might get it into the final corner. As no, the final corner, you need to try and make sure you are on that outside line. But let's jump back on board with Lewis Archer, as it does look like the move is on, as he's going to try and go the long way around the outside, and does manage to make that work, which is not something we've seen very often so far. But it looks like Alexander did manage to get a really good run here on the exit. Is he going to try and use DRS and try and get past? It doesn't look like he is, so both drivers drag race here into the corner, but it looks like Lewis just breaks a little bit later there into the entry of the corner and does manage to pull away. Needs to be careful just in case there is any other moves being sent by Alexander, but it looks like Lewis has now very much won that position, as Fernando Mateos has seemed to have lost a position there to Ronald Mathau. So unsure whether or not that pass was made with maybe Mateos having a little bit of a mistake, but it does look like Redmond also has managed to get past Sean Gurd as well. But everyone hold your breath. Here it is, battle for the lead. Chris Byram and Carlos Catao. Took a little while for Chris Byram to catch back up, but he is there now. And is he going to be able to make a move into turn number 1? As he's going to be all over the back of Carlos Catao, and he's going to look to go the long way around the outside once more into turn number 1, braking very heavy around the outside. He's still there. Now turns to the inside of turn number 2, and then turns to the outside of turn number 3, but it just manages to get his nose in front and block off Carlos Catao from making any moves. But Carlos Catao is now going to have the slipstream. He's not going to have DRS as he goes to try and make the long way around the outside again, like Chris did to him, but it doesn't look like he's going to try and make any moves just yet. It looks like he's just going to sit on the back, but I may be speaking too soon, as he's going to try and look around the outside once more here on this lap, number 16. But again, nothing doing. Chris Byram's going to hold that position for a couple more laps, and this battling has enabled someone else to get in the mix. That would be Alex Gutnecht of the Lumos Esports team. And that would be car number 14 here on track, and he's going to be watching this action and licking his lips, I'm sure, in the cockpit and going, if these two keep battling, I could potentially cause an upset here and maybe take the win of this race. Obviously, we saw Alex was a very fast driver out in Barcelona last week. Did have an unfortunate incident with Ivan Bovkamp, but it seems like those two are a little bit further apart on track this time, so hopefully no harm, no foul there. As we will jump on board with Chris Byram just to see if anything is happening here, if whether or not there is any defending going on, and it does look like Chris Byram's defending that inside line, which again will turn to the outside of turn number 2, and if he's not careful, Chris Byram's going to have to defend from Alex Gutnecht, and indeed that is what he's going to have to do. Alex Gutnecht's now going to try and go the long way around, and again there's a little bit of kerfuffle here as we've got 3 cars potentially looking to try and make it 3 wide into this corner, and it's not going to work for any driver so far, as they're still side by side. Chris Byram, Carlos Catao battling, and Alex Gutnecht's got nowhere to go. He's going to try and follow the car on the inside to try and see if he can maybe make a pass here on Carlos Catao or Chris Byram, and neither of them want to give up anything. Carlos Catao trying to look around the outside, which again will turn to the inside, and Chris Byram's having to hold it the long way around, which again will turn back into the inside of this section. And this circuit is proving that you can overtake indeed in the middle sector in these F2 cars, something that not a lot of people say, but these guys are managing to do it. And all this battling again keeps bringing in more people. Lewis Colon now is joining this battle. We've got now 4 cars all within a blanket of each other, as Carlos Catal is now under pressure from Alex Gutnecht, and it looks like Alex is managing to get some mega slipstream here between the 2 drivers. So Alex is going to look around the outside of Chris Byram. Is he able to make any moves? And oh no, that's Carlos Catal missing the braking and going off wide. That is very unfortunate for Carlos. Is he able to do anything? Is he able to get back on track before any other incidents happen? And what's happened to Chris Byram? Chris Byram's also off. Oh no, was there any contact between the 2? What happened between the drivers? That's promoted Alex Gutnecht up into P1. And Lewis Archer's now being overtaken by Irvin Bovekamp. Everything is going absolutely crazy again as Irvin Bovekamp goes wide, and Lewis again manages to get up the inside and reclaims his P3 from qualifying. So he's now back up to 3rd position, and if I can find a break in the action at some point, I'm going to try and make a look back to see what happened between those drivers, as Buddy Boggs is trying to make a look to see whether or not he can make a move on Sean Gurd, but it doesn't look like anything's happening there, and it looks like every driver is sort of settling in. So let's see what happened here with Carlos Catal, and it looks like, oh no, he had nowhere to go, and unfortunately just couldn't defend himself from hitting into the back, decided to just go straight to avoid contact between the other drivers, as it looked like there was potentially a little bit of contact here with Chris Byram and the other cars, as oh no, Chris Byram did just spin it by himself, a little bit eager on the throttle, and unfortunately that causes a spin for him as well. So that would put him now down there into I believe P7, as he is now entering into the pit lane. Sorry, P8. So unfortunately for him, he has lost a little bit of time here, but this battle for P1 is still on, so there is still a race going on for the lead, admittedly now between 2 drivers who are currently P3 and P4 before Chris Byram and Carlos Catal had their incidents. So Lewis Colon is trying to go the long way around Alex Gutnecht and manages to indeed make that move. So potentially we may see Lewis try to run away, and if he can, that's going to enable him to have a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a safety buffer to potentially just make a big enough gap to when he has to pit. Even if the pit stop is a little bit slow, he can still get out in front of Alex Gutnecht, and he can also have the reaction off the pit straight as well, as it does look like Cesar Cabral is now under pressure from no, sorry, that's Cesar Cabral pressuring Alexander Carver-Robbins, as Carlos Catal has now made his way up to P5 as well. Chris Byram down there in P12 after his pit stop, and it looks like Carlton Hall is either letting some drivers through, or he did get overtaken a few times, as Ronald Bethal, Cesar Cabral, and Alexander Carver-Robbins are all trying to make moves on each other. And here we are, Cesar Cabral and Alexander Carver-Robbins here, all trying to square up and see what can happen. And they need to be very careful to avoid another incident. And which driver's that? There is a... who is that? That's a white coat racing car of Corey Whiting getting a little bit involved with the leaders as well there. Something you don't want to see, so... Lewis Archer back on the podium indeed, as it looks like Alex Gutnecht and Lewis Colon are once again trying to battle for this first position, and these 2 are not going to let it go. And as much as I enjoy it, lads, I wish you'd try and settle down a little bit, because I need a space to drink here. As Alex Gutnecht's going to try and maybe make it around the outside, but I think he's going to wait. He's going to bide his time in the penultimate corner. He's going to line up a good move and then just absolutely send it like he did on Chris Byram earlier in the race, up the inside of turn number 1, as Alex Gutnecht is now trying to look to see if he can maybe catch up. And speaking of looking for moves, here comes Carlos Catal on the back of Ivan Bovekamp, the Arriga Motorsport car, trying to make a move on that Cuda Works team car. And if Carlos manages to get it done before the corner, as it looks like he does, he doesn't have to worry about pressure from the Cuda driver behind, so he can just really focus on trying to make moves. And oh, it does look like Alex did make the move and almost runs Lewis really far off track there. as Lewis is now going to look towards the inside again. And is he going to be able to make the move? And indeed he does, maybe giving a little bit back to Alex the same way he got past, trying to go as far out to the outside as he possibly can, as early as possible as well. As this battle for the lead is heating up apparently between these two drivers. They don't want to let anything go. As we do have a couple of other drivers in the pits. Alexander Carver-Robbins also now pitting, so that would be his pit stop done. Obviously, there is a mandatory pit stop at some point in the race, and obviously a pit strategy there to work out when it is indeed you are coming into the pit lane. As I'm going to try and see whether or not I can take a sip before we get back on board with Alex Gutknecht and Lewis Colon for this battle. And let's see, is Alex going to be able to make any moves, as it does look like he seems to have just dropped off a little bit. And we'll see from the lap times as well, potentially, that he did indeed drop a second or two in those last laps. As let's confirm, and indeed the currently 5/10 slower, so as Carlos Catao is setting a new personal best for himself with a 122.6 there, and that is massively quicker than Archer. And if Archer isn't careful, Carlos Catao is going to be trying to make a move on him as well. So Archer makes it back up to the podium and is immediately met with Carlos Catao. And Carlos, now in his mirrors, is going to try and make that Riga Motorsports car as wide as he possibly can in the mirrors to show that Lewis needs to be very careful here, or Carlos is going to bite. He isn't the type of driver to let you get away from anything. He's the type of driver that will make sure that any mistake you make goes punished by sending it absolutely everywhere. You think he won't, but he will prove you wrong time and time again. As through this middle sector, it looks like he's just trying to give himself a little bit more space, free up the air of the car a little bit to make sure that the car isn't massively affected going into the penultimate corner, so he can get a really good run on the exit. Maybe use a bit of DRS, as it doesn't look like he is just yet. It looks like he's just chilling with slipstream for now, as Lewis Archer there is trying to run away from Carlos Catao, as it doesn't look like Carlos is going to be close enough for a move into turn 1. As the battle there between Alex Gutknecht and Lewis Colon is also, again, getting closer every single lap. They're not leaving each other alone, but this battle between Archer and Catao is the one that I want to focus on at the moment, because this could have massive implications for the championship as well. Keep in mind that Chris Byram is currently P11. Admittedly, he does have a pit stop in hand over Carlos Catao, so if Carlos does pit, if he didn't gain enough time, or Byram has been stuck in traffic, as he did make the move there on Lewis Archer, but if Chris keeps getting stuck in traffic and Catao's running his race, then potentially Catao may exit his pit stop miles ahead of Byram, which will mean massive in the championship, as those two are currently battling for championship win and outright glory here. As let's see what's happening down here with Redman and Mateos, as it looks like Redman's going to maybe try and look for a move on Mateos at some point. Potentially we can maybe see it earlier than I thought, as she does just go right up the inside. Absolutely no worries there for P number 9, and Mateos looks like he almost let up a little bit there and lets the newer driver through. But Mateos making up 9 positions off the off this race so far. But Lewis Colon, can we talk about this drive? This man started P11, is now up to P1 and battling and making it look convincing that he deserves to be up here for that Turning Point Racing team. And Lewis Colon is making it actually very difficult for Gutknecht to make any sort of move around the inside, outside, doesn't matter. Colon seems to be able to massively defend, as the two are going to just settle down a little bit through this middle sector once again. As I say, not really an overtaking opportunity, but these guys seem to be proving me wrong week after week. I'm sure eventually I'm going to get to a point where I'm saying that any move is on at any point, because the way that these drivers like to drive is incredibly aggressive, and it makes for some very exciting racing between every driver that's here. So it's always an absolute pleasure to watch these guys for this F2 championship, as Lewis Colon will come across the line here to start a new lap, as Gutnecht does come into the pits. So that will promote Carlos Catao and Lewis Archer up into P2 and P3 respectively. And potentially Ivan Bothkamp as well gains a position, P5. Cesar Cabral going up there to P5 with Ivan Bothkamp, sorry, in P4. And will Ronald Bethel also get a position here on Alex Gutnecht, as this seems to be an awfully long pit stop for Alex. And that's going to cause some chaos, as I'm sure, as Chris Byram is looking to try and make a move here on Fernando Mateus, and if Fernando can try and defend, but it doesn't look like he does, it looks like he's just going to give it up. I think he knows Chris Byram fighting for the championship, obviously, so he's just going to let him through and be like, hey, I couldn't defend the move, you know, you've got the overspeed on me through the start-finish straight, so have at it. If I can follow you, great. If not, I'm going to run my own race. But Chris is now going to try and catch up to the back of Redman, and that does promote Chris up into the points. So he will be taking, provided he ends the race here, he will be taking a few points home with himself today, as Ivan Bothkamp here under pressure from Cesar Cabral, who is trying to look to maybe get up there into 4th position in his, again, home Grand Prix. As he's going to try, and does he learn his lesson with DRS this time? He does. He commits a lot earlier than he did before. Still a little bit of a flick, but not as much as it was previously, as he does make that move around the outside. Nowhere for Ivan to defend, even with DRS used by him as well. You know, it only goes so far helping out if you don't have slipstream. So Cesar Cabral is now going to try and maybe run away a little bit, see if he can maybe start to put some pressure on Lewis Archer ahead of him as well. But that potentially may be a move that will be on in a few laps' time, depending on the pace difference here, as Cesar Cabral was indeed faster than Archer the previous lap, but only by a couple of tenths. As we will see, Carlos Catao was also quicker than Lewis Colon as well. Obviously one to watch, with both drivers needing a pit stop. But Carlos Catao obviously wants to try and make up as much time as he can to get into a good enough position to take the lead of this race, as Alex Gutnecht is out of the pits and currently in P6. So looking at that, then potentially we may see Chris Byram and that mistake from him costing him quite a big result here, as he's quite a few positions down obviously in P10 and quite a few seconds behind as well. So unfortunately, it looks like that one issue that we had, as we see Lewis Colon in the pits as well. So Lewis taking his pit stop, which will promote Carlos Catao into the lead of this race. Lewis Archer then in P2 with Cesar Cabral on the podium in his home race as well, with Ivan Bothkamp there in P4. Still trying to hunt him down, still trying to maybe go quicker, but again, that last lap's Ivan Bothkamp a few tenths off, so looks like he's going to keep dropping back a little bit from Cesar Cabral, at least until they get some more fuel and fresher tyres, as Alex Gutnecht is out behind Lewis Colon. So there is a 1 second gap between them that seems to be closing. Obviously Lewis on colder tyres now as well, and needs to rubber them in a little bit, needs to make sure that he can get back up to speed as quickly as possible, or else Alex Gutnecht is going to be all over the back of him and pressuring him going into the first corner of his outlap. And it looks like that's exactly what Alex is going to do, as he takes a little bit of too much curb there. We see the car bouncing around and unfortunately not able to keep the car going as quickly as he would like. Otherwise, he could be really close here through the final couple of corners. And Alex is still going to try and look to make a move, but potentially not this lap. But we do know how strong the slipstream is. We do know how strong DRS is as well. And see if any drivers want to use it, as it doesn't look like they do. Looks like both flaps are still very much open here. as they're just using Slipstream, which is still gonna get you really damn close as Alex sends one up the inside of Lewis Colon, and Colon looks and realizes the move is happening and has to yield the position, unfortunately, but he's gonna now try to look down the inside of the following corner with a little bit of Slipstream. Is he gonna be able to maybe make a move up the inside? He doesn't look like he's gonna look for anything just yet. He's gonna just follow him through for now. As who's this with Julie Redmond? Julie Redmond is looking for a move on Colton Hall, but doesn't look like he's gonna send it just yet, as Chris Byron behind again is looking at this and going, well, if these two keep fighting, I can gain a couple more positions, start getting back more points in this championship race. Obviously, Carlos Catal still currently in the lead of the race, but he still has to make a pit stop. So Carlos Catal still has to make a pit stop. He's looking to try and maybe make a run all the way to the end and maybe pit as late as he possibly can, build as big of a gap as he can. And if that gap stays too big, then we may end up finding that Carlos Catal gets a free pit stop over Chris Byram. With a 30-second gap, I feel like that is a massive possibility. Pit lane here, yes, it's long, but the pit exit line is leads you directly onto a straight as well. So, but turn 1 and 2 quite slow here, so it's potentially not too bad on losing time, as Chris Byram is going to make the move up the inside of Julie Redmond there. Obviously, both of them driving for Cuda, so potentially Chris Byram has made an executive call, as it were, to get past, and Chris Byram indeed is then going to send one up the inside of Colton Hall as well, showing why he is indeed in the battle for the championship like he is. And that may enable actually Julie Redmond to try and make the move as well, and it does. She's now going to follow Chris Byram up into P9 for herself, and that then means that Julie and Chris have both done a little bit of a work there on the white coat racing car of Colton Hall, and managed to both get past him. Catal has not pit just yet, so he needs to make one more pit stop, and let's double check actually, see what the pit stop strategies are looking like, if I can find where that is on the overlay. Bear with me 1 second. Is there any drivers close on track? And nope, so we're not going to be missing out on too much at the moment regarding any issues with battling. As let's take a look at this pit strategy, and it does seem indeed that Archer has pit, Cabral has pit, Bovkamp has pit as well. And then Gutnecht and Colon are the next ones to pit, so that early pit stop from Archer, Cabral, and Bovkamp could mean all the difference here. So Archer potentially could end up winning the race here, as he pit quite early on there on lap number 6. And he's been going for the rest of the race, really. If he can make it all the way to the end on fuel, pitting on lap 6, we may see him win this race in his first race back in that number 1 car. So that's going to be an interesting one to look out for, as Carlos Catal does indeed set a new personal best. And looking at the timings, that doesn't seem to be the fastest race lap so far. The fastest race lap currently with Chris Byram with a 122.0. As let's take a look as well for potential bonus points as well. So obviously we do get some bonus points here in this league for fastest lap of the race, which, as I said, at the moment is with Chris Byram, as well as safest driver of the race, which at the moment we're looking at Carlos Catal, although with his off track maybe not. Fernando Matos as well, and Nicholas Marshall, all without many off tracks so far, as I believe there was a move made there back from Mathot and Redmond. So those two were keeping it spicy on track while I was looking away. And Julie is looking to maybe make a name for herself in F2. Obviously was in F3. I don't have the results for the F3, so I can't tell you exactly how well she did, but it does look like she's going to try and make a name for herself in Formula 2 instead, obviously racing for that Cuda Evo team. As Katal does indeed go even faster that last lap, 122.3. So he's looking to try and maybe potentially push to see if he can get fastest lap of the race. But if Byram has anything to say about it, he says, mate, you need to go 3/10 quicker to do that. As Redman here with DRS potentially, and big old slipstream down that start-finish straight isn't going to be close enough to maybe make a move this lap, but keep an eye on it, because out of the first and second corners, potentially through turn number 3, she may be looking up the inside as we see the DRS flaps come open for both drivers here, and she's going to look up the inside. Is she going to be able to make the move work? And she does. Very nice and easy there for Redman on Mathau. Potentially a little bit too deep, as it does seem like she didn't get a great exit, as Ronald Mathau is now going to try and look back around the outside, but Julie doing some great defending there, and that looks like she is doing an absolutely magnificent job. As Katal is now in the pits, so this is the driver to watch. Katal is in the pits. Is Katal going to come out ahead of Chris Byram? 33 seconds the gap between Katal and Byram, as let's jump on board, see where Byram is currently going through the final corner of the race, as Carlos Katal is just leaving. So it does look like Katal is going to have made that pit stop and come out ahead of Chris Byram, as Chris Byram still not even made it to the start finish line yet. And where is Alex Gutknecht in all of this? Gutknecht has also lost a couple of positions, as well as Lewis Colon on the end of that pit strategy battle there, as Carlos Katal has massively gained then through pace on the drivers behind him. So that's going to make things interesting as far as Katal's concerned, in terms of he's going to get a few points back on Chris Byram and maybe make the championship a little bit more interesting than what it initially seemed, as Cesar Cabral is up into P2 and on the podium in his home race, so he might be happy with that one. And Lewis Archer, first race back, P1 currently, just sort of getting through the back markers as quickly as he possibly can, but the back markers potentially not making things too easy. As let's see where Gutknecht and Colon are. They are currently having a little bit battle between themselves, as that is indeed the closest battle we have on track so far, as it does look like Cesar Cabral has actually managed to catch up to Lewis Archer a little bit as well, put himself within that 1 second window, and Lewis Colon there is currently 5/10 off Alex Gutknecht. If he manages to make this move, that would put Lewis in a great position. Looks towards the inside, but Alex knows you're too far back for that, mate. You ain't gonna send it there, and will just relax a little bit. Knows that he just needs to drive his line through this middle sector, and Lewis probably won't be able to find anywhere past, as these cars are rather wide for single seaters. Obviously not as wide as we see with the Mercedes here in F1. But definitely wider than these F3 cars, so it makes things a little bit interesting when you're going for moves around the outside here. You got to be careful that you don't potentially sideswipe the guy you're racing with, especially for the drivers who are coming up from F3. Obviously they'll be used to a much smaller car, so potentially some moves there that they need to get used to, as Cesar Cabral and Lewis Archer are both together here, and Cesar Cabral may be trying to make a move for the lead of this race, and I shouldn't cut away from this battle between Alex and Lewis either, because it looks like Lewis was going to try and make a move, not quite close enough, as we see Lewis and Cesar also really close together on track. potentially Caesar could make a move here, and if he does, maybe put himself in the lead of this race, as potentially Lewis may not be able to make it to the end on fuel, but Caesar pitting on lap number 9 potentially could. That would be 36 laps of fuel, which, I mean, it's a long way to go, but I mean, if he can make it, that could be an upset story as well, with Cesar Cabral winning his home race, which would be absolutely amazing for the Brazilian driver. And again, the Brazilian team will be going nuts in the background, I'm sure. As Lewis Colon and Alex Gutknecht as well are currently still trying to battle themselves out, but looks like, it seems like, whenever Lewis gets a little bit close, he seems to lose it a little bit in the middle sector, and who was that had a little bit of a spin there? I think that could have been Sean Gerd. Let me double check. Oh, a little bit of technical difficulties there as I stopped hearing things. So yeah, it looks like that was Sean Gerd, sorry, having a little bit of a issue with Lewis Archer. Still under pressure a little bit from Cesar Cabral. So Cesar very much looking to try and make a name for himself. He's looking to try and maybe say to everyone, look, I'm not happy with being in the midfield. I want wins. I want to have my name up in lights. I want to be podium contender every race. And yes, we can say there were issues, obviously, with some of the top guys having a little bit of spins and incidents by themselves, with the likes of Chris Byram obviously having his issue getting on the throttle a little bit too early in turn 1. Cesar Cabral, Carlos Catal having an issue through turn 1 as well. But hey, these things happen. This is racing, and Caesar's gonna try and maybe make every single opportunity he can to put himself in for a win. And it's gonna be a very interesting interview if that happens. I'm sure he's going to be very, very happy. He's gonna sound like a very excited man on that radio. As let's see if he can make any move done though, as Lewis Colon and Alex Gutknecht again really close through turn 1, but then it seems like Alex can just pull away through the other parts of the sectors, but it is just piling up to be a little bit of an interesting race between two drivers. But Carlos Catal is again catching up to the back of Ivan Bovekamp slowly but surely, and if he's not careful, he might actually end up running out of laps, as Lewis does look to try and maybe go up the inside, but nothing doing there, as Alex will shut the door on him a little bit and say, look, if you want to come and take this position, you need to be a lot closer than that. Let's see where Lewis and Caesar are on the final corner. Let's see if Caesar can maybe get a little bit closer this time. Is he going to be able to make a move this time? As Archer is diving really close to that pit wall, trying to break the toe as early as possible to make sure that Caesar has absolutely nowhere to try and make it past, as Archer does set his personal best lap of a 122.9. So maybe the pressure from Caesar behind him is really starting to push him into making these really, really quick laps that he's going to need to make. Otherwise, he's going to end up having this Brazilian driver behind him absolutely all over the back of his gearbox. But again, Caesar making sure that he can just sit with Archer for now, and if an opportunity presents himself, he'll obviously take it. But at the moment, he's just sort of relaxing, I think, and just doing laps, and maybe he knows that the car in front has pitted, but did pit potentially too early, and has led to him thinking, well, I don't want to risk anything. Obviously, I'm sat P2 right now. There's not really a move on anywhere at the moment, so again, he's quicker than me in like this middle sector, stadium section, so I need to really try and make a move here through the final corner and really on the straight bits where it counts. But if Archer's just so much quicker through that middle sector, he's going to find it difficult, obviously, to catch up there on the back of the on the back end of the lap. But potentially with some slipstream, with DRS, he might get a little bit closer than this time. But again, not quite close enough. As again, Archer goes quicker, but Cabral answers back with a 22.7. So even then, Cabral manages to go quicker than Archer and really just applying the pressure as much as he can. Cabral is just going to be looking on Archer's car and just going, that's my target. I need to make sure that I can make any move that I can to win this race. I want this championship. I want to make sure that I win my home race. It's going to mean so much. And Archer's going to wanting to be causing the upset. He's going to wanting to come in as the championship winner from last season and prove that he's still got it, prove that he's still out there as one of the, as one of the championship contenders. As Lewis Colon and Alex Gutnecht are also still battling away between themselves, but seemingly nothing on at the moment between those two. But we will keep an eye on the gaps here, as Cabral is now even closer than he's ever been before on the last couple of laps, and with only 5 laps to go, with only 6 laps to go of this race, is he going to be able to make, as Lewis seemed to just disappear into thin air there, that was a little bit scary, but Caesar not close enough this time, as he will just sort of reside to the racing line and couldn't get quite close enough. But potentially a move here coming out of turn number 3, and here he goes, Cabral diving to the inside. He's going to try and look with slipstream to maybe make a move into the corner, but again nothing doing, and Cabral just has to sit back once again. And Cabral is looking for any opportunity to overtake this GTR car as he tries to look around the outside here, but again nothing doing. Archer doing very well to defend himself at the moment, as Cabral almost ran into the back of him there, so has to take a little bit of evasive action and does slow himself down a little bit, as Colon and Gutnecht are indeed close, but again nothing really doing just yet. And Cabral seems to have lost a little bit of time there now, as well as yeah, we were talking about some drivers who were close. How about we talk Carlos Kitao and Ivan Bovkamp, as those two are now within a second as well. This is battle for P3 here in this race, and if Kitao can make this, that's going to improve his championship points as well, and maybe make it so that he is indeed championship leader. With Chris Byram down there in P7, still needing to make up quite a few positions. And here we go, Carlos Kitao is going to try and make a move here on the car of Ivan Bovkamp, the CUDA car, and I'm pretty sure Chris Byram is going to be saying to Ivan Bovkamp as much as he can, hey mate, if you can hold him up, I'm really needing you to right now, because I need you to hold P3 as hard as you can. Anything you can do to defend, try everything, because, you know, Chris needs Carlos to have as least amount of points possible to reduce the deficit between the two of them. So, as Kitao and Ivan are definitely battling it out here, as it looks like there seems to be a battle going on between Colon and Gutnecht in the background as well, and indeed there is. Colon did manage to get around the outside, but obviously that turns to the inside of the following corner, so Alex does indeed get through nice and easy there. And let's see if he can hold on towards the end of the lap, as let's see if we can take a look at Kitao and Bovkamp as well to see whether or not Kitao can make a move into turn 1 here. Is he going to be able to use DRS? Does he even have any DRS usages left? As definitely Bovkamp does up in front, as he closes that rear flap to try and make sure that he can have as much of a straight line speed advantage as possible, and indeed does manage to defend with that quite nicely, as Lewis Archer and Cesar Cabral are again close, and it looks like Archer's now having to go defensive as Cabral's going to try and go the long way around the outside. Is he going to be able to make the move work? He was slightly off track, and oh my god, it looks like he does. Cesar Cabral is just trying to make sure that he can keep it up the inside, and if he can, this will be Cesar Cabral in the lead of the race at his home Grand Prix. Is he going to be able to defend from the inside move from Lewis Archer? And he does, but he needs to be careful that he doesn't get a bad exit here. He doesn't want Archer to be sending one up the inside. It looks like Cabral is trying to defend as hard as he can, and oh no, Lewis does send it up the inside. Cabral braking much too late, much too early for the corner, which allows Lewis to get back up the inside, but potentially this could be a good move here from Cabral. Cabral may be playing the strategy game and saying to Archer, well, if you're going to send the move here, I've got DRS. I've got the slipstream now into turn 1, and if I can make a move here, then I can win this race once more. So Cabral is going to look towards the outside of the corner, and with no DRS usage there on Lewis Archer, is going to try and go the long way around the outside, and does make the move before the corner. So Cesar Cabral once again now back in the lead of this race. And I'll tell you what, Cesar Cabral now back into the lead of this race, but needs to be careful from Lewis Archer trying to maybe make a move up the inside, and it looks like he's going to try and go as defensive as he can, make the car as wide as he can. Was using DRS down there on the straight as well, so Cesar Cabral using quite a few of his DRS usages must have saved them up throughout the race, because he's using them once again to try and defend from Lewis Archer. And I'll tell you what, if Cabral has enough DRS usages here, he may potentially have enough for 1 per lap, which will mean that it's going to be very difficult for Archer to make a move, even with DRS assistance. And I'll tell you what, if he does end up winning this race, Cesar Cabral is going to be over the moon with this performance, holding off the previous championship winner Lewis Archer to win his first round in iFormula League Season 3. And we still have a few more laps to go here, ladies and gentlemen, as we will move on to lap 44. And is Cesar Cabral going to be able to defend here from Lewis Archer? He will have DRS potential, as it does indeed. That flap is as tightly closed as it can be. Lewis Archer, even with slipstream, not able to really make a move, and that shows you how powerful this DRS is, as Katao has now managed to make a move on Ivan Bovkamp. Has he made the move stick into turn number 1, and he gives him respectful racing room, probably more than he needed to, but manages to get through nice and easy, and that does push him now up into P3, as Alex Gutnecht and Lewis Colon are once again battling it out like no man's business. Unfortunately, everyone else is battling for the lead. P3, P4, everyone's battling apparently. I said there was nothing going on, but everyone has decided to go, you know what, let's make this interesting. As we're going to see Lewis Archer maybe try to use this back marker that's ahead of Cesar Cabral to his advantage and get another slipstream. Obviously, if Cesar Cabral pulls offline, Lewis can still get slipstream from the car in front, and this back marker is maybe going to get in the way in the worst possible position. And on the exit, that Orion car you'll see pull to the inside, brake for the corner, let Lewis through, let Cesar Cabral through, but that may have enabled them to potentially get really close here, as Lewis Archer's going to be trying to make that move on Cesar Cabral once more. Cesar looking to defend as hard as he can to win this race. He only has a few more laps to do it, and if he can manage this, he will win his first round and he will win his home race. The pressure is going to be on, as Lewis Archer is going to try and make anything he can work, because Lewis wants this win, Cesar wants this win. Both drivers are going to absolutely be gunning it for the last few laps. As Lewis now is trying to potentially see if he can maybe make any moves, and I'm wondering whether or not he will have any DRS usages left. Obviously, if he does, then he may try to make a move on the final lap of the race. And if not, he's going to have to just try and get as close as he can with slipstream and really try to just pressure Cesar into a mistake. But Cesar's soaking it up quite nicely. Cesar is managing to hold everything off really well, and Absolutely, just, oh no, that seems to be a massive mistake there from Lewis Archer. The dirty air potentially affecting him and causing another massive issue, and that's him spun around. That's him spun around and causing an issue which is going to promote Cesar Cabral to the lead of this race by a significant margin. And oh no, here comes Carlos Quintana for P2 as well. So Lewis with that spin has now absolutely, oh my word, that has... I can't talk. Lewis Archer has now lost himself P2 in this race because of that, as we go on to the final lap of this race. Final lap for any driver to try and make a move, and Carlos Quintana is going to finish this race potentially P2 provided he doesn't make any mistakes, and Ivan Bovekamp is going to see this Archer see the fact that Archer has maybe got worn tyres and potentially cause another upset by Bovekamp finishing on the podium. And if he can finish on the podium, that's going to be one hell of a result from everyone, as Cesar Cabral here coming through the final couple of corners. But let's keep an eye on this battle between Ivan Bovekamp and Lewis Archer and see whether or not any moves can be made. And speaking of moves can be made, if Lewis Colon and Chris Byram can potentially make a move as well, as we will see Cesar Cabral here. We will focus on this a little bit, as I will quickly just jump back because I do want to see how this move turns out, but I also want to give Cesar Cabral as much respect as possible, because this man, this Brazilian driver at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Cesar Cabral, will come home to win the Brazilian Grand Prix here in the iFormula League Formula 2 Season 3, round number 2. 46 laps, and he led the most important one, the final lap of the race, as Kitao, Archer and Bovekamp finishing there P2, P3, P4, Alex Gutnecht and finishing there in P5, with Lewis Colon finishing P6, Chris Byram P7 as well. So Byram was not able to make that move on Colon at the end. And congratulations, massive congratulations to Cesar Cabral for winning his home Grand Prix, as we will see Ronald Matteo come home there to finish P8. Julie Redman going past Colin Hall there at the finish as Colin run out of fuel. Colin Hall has run out of fuel on the final lap. Oh no! Coming through the final corner, he's run out of fuel. Oh, that is devastating. So Colin Hall loses another position, which promotes Julie to P9 in Julie's first race. But Colton will manage to finish P10, still finishes in the points. Alexander Carver-Robbins there in P11. And again, what another wild race. Mate, what is going on in this league? What is going on in this league? This league is absolutely insane. This league is insane. I'm just gonna say it. It is ridiculous. Hope you all enjoyed that. We're gonna try and get a couple of the drivers in for interviews, hopefully. If they are all coming to a stop here. So we will have Cesar Cabral, Carlos Quintana and Lewis Archer there as the top three. But what a race that was. What a race. I hope all of you enjoyed that one. I know I certainly did. Wow. And once again, my throat is gone. My voice is dead. But let's bring him in here. Let's bring in the leader, the man who won. He won his home Grand Prix. What more do we need to say? Cesar Cabral, mate, absolutely well done on that race. But you won your home Grand Prix. How does that feel?
when we are here in Brazil and Brazilian wins, they have a specialist sound. It calls it Tema da Vitória. And
Okay.
I was doing this last lap thinking like dun, 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 dun. Yes, dude, you did it. Remember Senate 91 was so amazing.
Yeah.
And I would like to say thank you for Lewis. It was a really good fight. I really
Mhm.
appreciate that clean fight. I was a little bit disappointed with the incident that happened with me because the guy just slowed down in the pit entrance and wasn't expecting. But by other hand, this helps me because I could change my tires, and this helped me in the end of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was unlucky with luck in the same time. Like
Yeah.
sometimes some stuff happens that makes you grow. Yeah, I'm quite excited and happy for this. Thanks for everyone.
You definitely sound like you're absolutely over the moon after that race, and who can blame you? I mean, to have, as I say, that you were saying that early incident there on one of the first few laps, to then come back from that and to win your home Grand Prix. I mean, it's absolutely amazing work, and I can't wait to see what you can do in this championship, mate. Also, it's going to be really nice, and I think honestly, we're gonna potentially have a couple of battles here to bring ourselves out the championship contenders. Obviously, with the likes of Chris Byram, who may not have had a great race, but again, Chris Byram, Carlos Gattal, Archer now as well, and yourself, all going to be battling for the championship. I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, will be awesome. I'm super excited. Let's see how it will be the end of the season. And just one extra stuff. Yesterday during the training, my brakes broken, so I have to fix the brakes, adapt it. So it was absolutely crazy this weekend.
So, not only did you win your home Grand Prix after an incident that happened early on in the race, you also had a broken brake that you had to fix before the race. Was there anything else that went on? Or was that all the bad luck you had?
This was enough. Oh gosh. Yeah,
Well,
but I'm really happy. I'm really happy.
Awesome, mate. Awesome. But yeah, congratulations once again, mate. And can't wait to see what you have for the rest of the championship.
Yeah, good. I'm super excited for the next race.
See you later, mate. As we will now get a interview there with Lewis Archer as well. Actually, before we hear from Lewis, let's get Carlos Gattal in here as well and see what he has to say about, once again, another comeback drive. Can this driver stop doing this? Carlos, good evening,
Hey.
mate.
Again.
Once again, another podium, and
Yep.
once again, another comeback drive. What is it with you and comeback drives?
It was a little one today. Not,
Yeah,
not
it was
much.
only a little one, admittedly, but
Honestly, I thought I was gonna get the win there, but apparently Caesar and Lewis stopped under the safety car, the first one.
yeah,
Yeah. So that didn't play out for me. It was just a mistake into turn one. I was trying to brake late, and then the track sort of goes to the left a bit, and I just put my wheels on the grass there. But then I was expecting to then not I wasn't expecting to see Chris right there in front of me. What happened to him? Did he tangle with Alex?
So Chris had a incident by himself in the corner, so he got on the throttle a little bit too early, spun the car around, hit the wall. So unfortunately, that meant that he dropped a couple of positions as well. But I did notice that you three were all battling quite hard there between yourselves. So that would be you, Chris, and Alex, all battling there up in the top positions. And unfortunately, sometimes people get off worse, sometimes people get off better. But always amazing racing, and definitely seems like you two are starting to build some respect for each other. Obviously, you and Byram. So that's always nice to see.
And now I expect some more people to join in. I think Alex is pretty quick as well, so he should probably join us. like he did today. I got it a really good start for as compared to last week.
Yep.
And then yeah, we just good defending from Chris, and then he got tangled with Alex, which is just what I was hoping for. And then I just used DRS one or two laps in a row and to pull away from them. But then the safety car messed it all up. So
Yeah.
and then that's when the fun started, but didn't last long with 3 cars. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way it's gonna last long.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
3
expect to
cars all
race him.
fighting for the same piece of tarmac.
Yeah,
It's not ever gonna work.
I expect to race him in future races for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely awesome to see. And honestly, there's been a couple of really good drivers here that did amazing. So I think there's going to be a couple of contenders in this championship now, and I definitely am excited to see what all you top guys can produce as we go throughout the season, as the racing will seem to probably get closer and also will get much more interesting. But once again, mate, congratulations on P2. And
Thank you.
That will also put you in the lead of the championship. I'm
I was gonna
pretty
ask.
sure.
I was gonna ask. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Who's the leader now? So yeah, it makes sense with two second places, and then Chris
Yep.
finished like P6 or P7 maybe.
Yeah, so he finished P7, and also with Frederick Larson taking P3 on that last round, so the points were a little bit skewed in in your favor this time. So let's see what you can make out
Let's
there.
hope it stays that way. Let's hope it stays that way for the whole season.
Well, maybe with a couple more wins along the way. Stop these second
I hope
places.
to get my first one. Yeah, I don't want to get just second places. I want to get to the top step eventually.
All right. Well, congratulations, mate, as always, and all the best.
Thank you.
And now we'll hear from third place guy Lewis Archer as he made his return to the series after a little bit of a break. So let's see what he has to say, and let's hear from him. Hey there, Lewis.
Whoa, yo.
Absolutely amazing job there. P3 in your first race back. How did that feel for yourself?
That was crazy. I hoped I would race some of the guys I've raced against. There's some people out there in my team and things like that. I was hoping to get a bit of Chris Byram action in there, a bit of a bit of Julie and that.
Yep.
And it just didn't happen. I literally raced all new guys. It was crazy. But I just checked the tires, and I've literally got 48% on the front left. So much wear, so much wear.
But how do you feel about the new guys? Obviously, you say you haven't raced with them before. Assuming they're proving to you that they are here to fight for the championship wins. So you and Caesar definitely scraping it up near the end, and almost made me lose my voice again in back-to-back rounds.
Man, that was some crazy fight. I just didn't have any tires left to keep it. In the end, I got caught in the draft. I actually, at the moment, I lost it. I tried to just come out from behind his draft just to give me a little bit more air. Just wasn't enough. And I knew the previous couple of laps around that corner, it was getting really, really, really sketchy. I thought if I go, it's gonna go there. And I was trying to ease off. I still went. But no, that's it. I mean, I took the championship last season. And I had some crazy internal stuff in my life, which looked like I had to step away for quite a while. And as this all kicked back up, things kind of aligned, and I ended up back here, missed the first race. But I did. To be honest, I haven't been on my wheel for quite some time, and I thought I'd be a lot further off pace than that. But these new guys are quick.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, as always, it's great to see you back. So looking to see whether or not that number one can stay maybe in back-to-back seasons. Obviously going to be a little bit harder than you would probably like, obviously missing the first round, and Carlos Catal taking 2 second places as well. So a little bit of deficit to make up, but definitely a third place will help towards that some degree.
I bet he's got some strong feels there, because he's probably arguably had pace to win both.
Yeah.
And been tangled up in both. I mean, he got disconnected from the first one. I know that much. I kept my eye on the championship, but I will try my best. I'll probably miss a few races here and then going up, but I'll just give it the best I can for each race. Carlos, my money's with him at the moment for a predicted title. I mean, it's really early on, but he's definitely got some crazy consistency. Chris, I just want to say, my ex-teammate, unlucky. I think he was way out somewhere doing some crazy stuff, and then all of a sudden I came around the corner and they were in turn one, and me and can't remember who I was fighting with at the time. Me and Ivan drove through, and I just thought, jeez.
Yep.
You know, you never wish that. You just want everyone to get a clean race wherever they finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did just seem to lose it on by himself. Same with Carlos Catal. So Carlos went a little bit too deep into braking into turn 1, had to go wide, and then Carlos Catal out of the exit of turn. Chris out of the exit of turn 1. A little bit too eager on the throttle, spun it round. So hate to see it, but hey.
When they bring back, Nick, better luck next time, guys. I just kept my nose clean. I mean, I had a ridiculous crash middle of the race.
yeah. There was quite a few crashes throughout that race, and that big one that collected quite a few people at the start. Obviously, Caesar and yourself both actually managing to benefit from it in some degree. With getting that super early pit stop meant you can maybe run in a little bit more clean air than usual. So.
Yep, definitely lucky. I mean, some do that. Some a medium benefit. I've had a larger benefit from that before. I've also had it really hit me hard where the safety car completely doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
You know. So, but no, just really enjoyed it. I had a time of my life. Even when I span, I was like, no tires. Knew it was gonna happen. So I give it my all.
Yeah. And that's all we want to see, isn't it? We just want to see all these drivers battling as hard as they can, put on a great show for everyone else. So once again, thank you very much for that. And all you F2 guys, absolutely mega respect for you. Great shit. And Lewis, I will see you, hopefully, maybe back next week for for another podium.
Catch you soon, dude. Hopefully I'll
see you later,
back.
mate.
No worries.
And that there will wrap it up for us here in the iFormula League, as we will take a look once again here at the results. As we will see, those are the qualifying results, we don't want those. As we will see Cesar Cabral take the win, 8.5 seconds off of Carlos Catal for Auriga Motorsports. Lewis Archer there for GTR Evolution, pulling out that podium position. Ivan Bergkamp for the CUDA Works team, so a few more points for the CUDA team to go a little bit more in their favour for the Constructors' Championship at the very least. Lumossi Motorsports there in P5 with Alex Goodnecht. Lewis Colon, P6 with Turning Point Racing, and Chris Byram in P7 with the CUDA Works team. Again, more points going in CUDA Works' favour for the Constructors' Championship. As we will see Ronald Mathal there with Gasparilla Motorsport in P8, Julie Redmond P9 for CUDA Evo, and then Carlton Hall rounding out the top 10 with White Coat Racing. Again, thank you all very much for being here. You've been absolutely lovely, and this race has been absolutely mental. All I'm going to say is, when's the next race happening? Cheers, guys.